Welcome to Shepherd's Digest. This is the Daily Edition. I'm Pastor Terry from River City Hope Church in Louisville, Kentucky, and this week we'll be revisiting some of the major points from the sermon, The Road to Discipleship. Now, in this series of messages, we're going to be looking specifically at how Jesus chose his disciples, how he was strategic in the process of making disciples, and our hope is that we can learn from his example. Now, in part one, we learned that before Jesus made any important decisions, he always went to God and he prayed. He had a conversation, asking, then listening for direction from the Father. And the second thing we can learn from how Jesus led others is through influence. The early chapters of Mark's Gospel show us how Jesus had made an impact on the public. The people had never experienced anyone like him, but for his ministry to make an even bigger impact, a lasting impact, Jesus had two very practical challenges that he had to overcome. First, he had to find some way of making his message permanent. He knew he was here for a limited time, 3 years and then what? Second, he had to find some way of distributing his message, getting it out to the people who were not geographically close by. And all of this in an age when there was no such thing as a printed book or newspaper, no radio or TV, no internet, no way of reaching large numbers of people at one time. That was no easy task. So the solution? He needed to choose who would become his disciples, his devoted followers, a representative. You see, a disciple is someone who spends time being influenced by the one they're following. So Jesus was looking for those who would represent him well to others. Influence happens through the process of constant and consistent contact. Think of a light bulb. When electricity is constantly fed to it, it does what it was created to do. It lights up. And if it's not consistently fed, then the light goes out. The same could be said about us. If we're constantly being filled by Holy Spirit, we can do what we're created to do, to shine for Jesus and to point others to him. And when we're consistently in contact with him, then we can continue to be filled and overflowing with his power in and through us, changing lives and being a positive influence on those around us and teaching them to do the same thing in others. This is basically an easy way to describe discipleship. Through constant and consistent contact with Jesus, the disciples would learn from him. They would become more like him and feel confident about telling others about him, sharing. So confident that in the end they were willing to die for him, and they did. When we spend time with Jesus, he can show us how to do everyday life with meaning and purpose. And then we can share the things he has taught us as we influence others. Whether we realize it or not, we are influencing people. Remember when you found a great restaurant that you just had to share with others and you couldn't wait to tell everybody about it? Or maybe you found a really great deal on something and you didn't want others to miss out on it. I guarantee that a relationship with Jesus is the best deal you'll ever find. And we should be sharing him with our kids, our co-workers, friends, family, and those we've asked God the Father to help us disciple and lead as we follow Jesus. And if you haven't asked him yet who you should lead, why don't you take time to do that today? Then listen for his answer. Thanks for joining me for this second installment in the series from the message, The Road to Discipleship. To watch the full message, you can view it on our church website, hope4rivercity.com. That's hope, the number 4, rivercity.com. And we've just recently added a videos page at shepherdsdigest.com, where you'll find this series and other content from previous messages. And while you're there, you can subscribe to the audio podcast of Shepherd's Digest, or just search for it by name wherever you get your podcasts. I'm Pastor Terry Wright from River City Hope Church in Louisville, Kentucky. And until next time, stay connected to the source and make a positive influence on those around you. God bless you. We'll see you next time.